Never judge someone's character based on the words of another. Instead, study the motives behind the words of a person casting the bad judgment. An honest woman can sell tangerines all day and remain a good person until she dies. But there will always be naysayers who will try to convince you otherwise. Perhaps this woman did not give them something for free or at a discount, perhaps too, that she refused to stand with them when they were wrong or just stood up for something she felt was right. And also, it could be that some bitter women are envious of her, or that she rejected the advances of some very proud men. Always trust your heart. If the Creator stood before a million men with the light of a million lamps, only a few would truly see him, because truth is already alive in their hearts. A truth can only be seen by those with truth in them. He who does not have truth in his heart will always be blind by her. Or I am a forever lawyer, law and order. My biggest problem with modernity may lie in the growing separation of the ethical and the legal. Then I go and den and turn on law and order, since the only thing I can really count on in life is what that whenever I turn on TV, there'll be a Law and Order episode. Law and Order doesn't exist. Law and Order exists for the purpose of establishing justice, and that when they fall in this purpose, they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached a regrettable conclusion that the great stumbling block and the stride towards freedom is not white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klan clanner, but the white moderate spin. A few would guess that our prison population leaped from approximately 350,000 to 2.3 million in such a short period of time due to changes in laws and policies, not changes in crime rates. Yet it has been changes in our laws, particularly the dramatic cases, increases in the length of our prison sentences that have been responsible for the growth of our prison system, not increases in crimes. There's a spin all night and infinite rhymes. I'm a lawyer, all right? There's a spin all night and infinite rhymes. I have sophisticated vocabulary, used adequate, education, my psychological unconscious, that's validating, library, understanding, completely intimate, randomly, consciously, accurately, and coherently. Or meaning new shows, flip of the anti-disruptive, to be calibrated beyond docenatism, infinitism of the lawyerism. It's often the most naturally intelligent students who have the most difficult time in their first year. Law school, particularly the first year of law school, is not really a place where creativity, abstract thought, and imagination are rewarded in this way. I often think, based on what I heard, not what I know firsthand, it's a bit like art school. Spent raps. Law school, I said. Law school is a test, not a test of strength, creativity, or intelligence, but one of endurance. A law student's greatest nemesis is not mastering legal concepts, but enduring the hours of solitude which endless study requires. Law school teaches you one thing above all: how to speak while saying absolutely nothing. I'm speaking while saying absolutely nothing, but spitting, rhyming forever and ever. There's a spitting all night and all day. Infinite way goes the day. Sophisticated vocabulary, use man, education, psychological unconscious, alien, library, complete, randomly, conscious, accurately, incoherent, children's subject, anti-subject, terrorism, recovery, biodoceanism, giantism, sylbolism, abstrusionism. It is a pleasant world we live in, sir. A very pleasant world. There are bad people in it, Mr. Richard. But if there were no bad people, there would be no good lawyers. Politicians were mostly people who had too little morals and ethics to stay lawyers. The minute you read something that you can't understand, you can almost be sure that it was drawn up by a lawyer. Where we are all honorable men here. We do not have to give each other assurances as if we were lawyers. I hissed in frustration. I hate idolins. I thought a piper made them promise to stay away. Oh, Frank said, like he just had his own daily happy thought. Piper made them promise to stay off the ship and not possess any of us. But if they followed us and used other bodies to attack us, then they're not technically breaking their vow. Great Leo muttered. idolins who are also lawyers. Now I really want to kill them. My biggest problem with modernity may lie in the growing separation of the ethical and the legal. How has he come armed then? She asked anxiously. Has he brought a pistol or a sword? Ian shook his head, his dark hair lifting wildly in the wind. No, oh no, ma'am, he said. It's worse. He brought a lawyer. There comes a time in your life when you can no longer put off choosing. You have to choose one path or the other. You can live life safe and be protected by the people around you, or you can just stand up and be a leader for what is right. Always remember this: people never remember the crowd. They remember the person that had the courage to say and do what no one would do. Some Christian lawyers, some eminent and stupid judges have said and still say that the Ten Commandments are the foundation of the law. Nothing could be more absurd. Long before these commandments were given, there were codes of laws in India and Egypt, laws against murder, perjury, larceny, adultery, and fraud. Such laws are as old as human society, as old as the love of life, as old as industry, as the idea of prosperity, as old as human love. All of the Ten Commandments that are good were old. All that were new are foolish. If Jehovah had been civilized, he would have left out the commandment and keeping the Sabbath, and in its place would have said, "Thou shalt not enslave thy fellow men. Thou shalt not enslave thy fellow men." He would have omitted the one about swearing and said, "The man shall have but one wife, and the woman but one husband." He would have left out the one about graven images, and instead would have said, "Thou shalt not wage wars of extermination, and thou shalt not unsheathe the sword except in self-defiance, defense." If Jehovah had been civilized, how much grander the Ten Commandments would have been. All that we call progress, the enfranchisement of a man of labor, the substitution of imprisonment for death, a fine for imprisonment, the destruction of polygamy, the establishment of free speech, of the rights of conscience. In short, all that has attended to the development and civilization of man, all the results of investigation, observation, experience, and free fall, all that man has accomplished for the benefit of man since the close of the Dark Ages has been done in spite of the Old Testament. You have the maturity of a 14-year-old boy, Kennedy hisses, and you have the chest of one. I was half lawyer. I always noticed the loopholes. You advised him not to get a lawyer, given as one of your reasons the opinion that lawyers are a pain in the ass. Gentlemen, the pain is here. Divorce lawyers stoke anger and fear in their clients, knowing that as long as the conflicts remain unresolved, the revenue stream will keep on flowing. But they argued as lawyers do. They twisted every answer I gave until it sounded like the opposite meaning, and I became so focused, so confused and afraid. I found myself agreeing to statements that I knew were not true. Claude rubs the back of his neck and wrinkles his nose, about to tell me he was never sad. I believe this is called bravado, and it's not limited to lawyers or even men, although that combination makes it almost unavoidable. All we know about the new economic world tells us that nations which train engineers will prevail over those which train lawyers. No nation has ever sued its way to greatness. Don't forget that we lawyers were a higher breed of intellect, and so it's our privilege to lie. It's as clear as day. Animals can't even imagine lying. If you were to find yourself among some wild islanders, they too would only speak the truth until they learned about European culture. A few decades ago, a woman tried to use a butter company that had printed the word light on its product packaging. She claimed to have gained so much weight from eating the butter, even though it was labeled as being light. In the court, the lawyer representing the butter company simply held up the container of butter and said to the judge, "My client did not lie. The container indeed, light in weight. The woman lost a case in a marketing class in college. We were assigned this case study to show us that puffery is legal. Puffery is legal. This means that you can deceptively use words with double meanings to sell a product, even though they could mislead customers into thinking your words mean something different. I am using this example to touch upon the myth of organic foods. If I was a lawyer representing a company that had labeled its oranges as being organic, and a man was suing my client because he found out that the oranges were being sprayed with toxins, my defense opening statement would be very simple. If it's not plastic or metallic, it's organic. Most products labels as being organic are not really organic. Spitting, I spat it. Lawyer, I'm rapping. The law, I said it, I spat it. Again, I get it, spit it. When cops are on the job, they love lawyers like lions love hyenas, only minus the mutual respect. It is strange the way that someone who wants to find you guilty can start to make you believe in your own guilt, even when you know you are innocent. I was afraid I would condemn myself by mistake. Lawyers were notorious for finding cases in the most unlikely places, especially ones with huge potential damagers awards. A heart can only discover what it really wants with experience. But Stanley Wade instead removed his glasses and wiped his eyes. They were moist, not from fear, but from the harsh reality of being confronted by one of his victims. How many others were out there? Why had he chosen to spend his career screwing these people? The two men were greedily hunched over the table like two wolves disputing a carcass, but their muttered speech in the echoing hall resembled more of a grunting of pigs. And one was less than a wolf. Whoa, howling. He was a public prosecutor. The other was more than a pig. He was a chief commissioner of police. I find as I grow older, I love those most whom I loved first. You spit, it hurts. He recognized it and knew it, and others, clients, witnesses, or sometimes adversaries. He had seen or heard it, a gesture, a phrase, or a tone which exposed unintended truth in the beat of a second. There's something oddly comforting about talking to a legal guy. And once the billable hours a clock has started running, you have passed a magical point at which a lawyer becomes your lawyer. Your lawyer is warm. Your lawyer is sympathetic. Your lawyer makes notes on a yellow pad and nods in all the right places. Most of the questions your lawyer asks are questions you can answer. And if you can't, your lawyer will help you find a way to do so. By God, your lawyer is always on your side. Your enemies are his enemies. To him, you are never shit, but always shinola. If you don't start playing by my rules, you'll be lucky to be licking stamps in some lowly legal aid office. Lawyers spend a great deal of their time shoveling smoke. The lawyers, Bob, know too much. They are chums of the books of old John Marshall. They know it all. What a dead hand wrote, a stiff dead hand, and its knuckles crumbling, the bones of the fingers of thin white ash. The lawyers know a dead man's thoughts too well, and the heels of the higgling lawyers. Bob, too, many slippery ifs and buts and howevers, too much herring before provided, whereas too many doors to go in and out of. When lawyers are through, what is there left, Bob? Can a mouse nibble at it and find enough to fasten a tooth in? Why is there always a secret singing when a lawyer cashes in? Why does a horse snicker, howling, hauling a lawyer away? The work of a brick slayer goes to the blue. The knack of the mason outlasts the moon. The hands of a plasterer hold a room together. The land of a farmer wishes him back again. Singers of songs and dreamers of plays build a house no wind blows over. But the lawyers tell me why a hearse horse snickers, hollowing a lawyer's bones. Beware of a client. Beware of a client who's suing on principle and paying by the hour. He rarely gets his money's worth. There is hardly any political question in the United States that sooner or later does not turn into a judicial question. From that, the obligation that the parties find in their daily polemics to borrow ideas and language from the judicial system. Since most public men are or have formerly been jurists, they make the habits and the turn of ideas that belong to jurists pass into the handling of public affairs. The jury ends up by familiarizing all classes with them. Thus, judicial language becomes, in a way, the common language. So, the spirit of the jurist, be born inside of the schools and courtrooms, spreads little by little beyond their confines. It infiltrates all of society, so to speak. It descends to the lowest ranks, and the entire people finishes by acquiring a part of the habits and tastes of the magistrate. A lawyer is basically a mouth. Like a shark is a mouth attached to a long gut. The business of lawyers is to talk, to interrupt one another, and to devour each other if possible. We're supposed to sentence people fairly after fully considering their life circumstances, but instead we exploit the inability of the poor to get the legal assistance they need, all so we can kill them with less resistance. The law is so complex and voluminous that no one not even the most knowledgeable lawyer can understand it. All moreover, lawyers and legal scholars have not gone out of their way to make the law accessible to the ordinary person. Just the opposite. Legal professionals, like the priests of some obscure religion, too often try to keep the law mysterious and inaccessible. Held in front of him a scroll with a red wax seal affixed, the kind of thing believed to make a document official or at least expensive and difficult to understand, which in fact amounts to the same thing at the law offices of Evan E. Zelig, PC. We provide aggressive, personalized representation of individuals for individuals facing criminal charges. Our Santa Rosa criminal defense lawyer has handled thousands of cases, including those involving DUI, theft, gang-related crimes, drug crimes, violent crimes, and more. We can also walk you through the process if you have a conviction on your record and are interested in expungement, no matter how complex or how tough the fight is. We stand by you every step of the way. Our lawyers meticulously investigate and diligently prepare each case to maximize your chances of a favorable outcome. Results matter to us. Call the schedule of free consolation. Spin never ending. I'm a lawyer. Spin a rap. Spin equation annihilation. All the extravagance and incompetence of our present government is due in the main to lawyers and in part at least good ones. They are responsible for 9/10 of the useless and vicious laws that now clutter the statute books and for all the evils that go with the vain attempt to enforce them. Every federal judge is a lawyer, so are most congressmen. Every invasion of the plain rights of the citizens has a lawyer behind it. If all lawyers were hanged tomorrow and their bones sold to the John Factory, we'd be freer and safer, and our taxes would be reduced by almost half. When you need quick assistance following the arrest of a loved one, A plus bail bonds, also known as A plus bail bonds, is here to provide reliable bail services in Santa Ana and throughout Orange County, ramping their enemy, sloppy, a lawyer, spitting lawyer expert forever. The power of the bench stems from the fear of the bar, uncompromising the cause of its clientele. Every law on land is a battle between the past and the future, written by those who own it, suffered by those who don't. There was a lesson to be learned here. Few things are more deserving of incineration with a flamethrower than a bunch of drunken lawyers who know that loopholes in the law will enable them to get away with being smartasses and lording it over ordinary people who do not know the law but have the right on their side, who have the law and the right on their side. Rhymes. I'm thy forever lawyer infinitist. I'm thy forever infinite lawyer infinitist. Spent forever into the abyss, my infinite syllable pit.